everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to provide a special shout out to the FrameMind group for inviting us to participate in today's summit. The objectives that we're going to cover today would be to expand the awareness about the NCATS program and its SBIR, STTR programs, as well as other small business resources that can help foster innovation in your technology development. We will provide tips to help small businesses and research organizations in idea states, as well as increase the number of high quality SBIR and STTR applications, especially among geographically diverse states and women and minority owned businesses. So what does the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences do? We are one of the 27 institutes of the NIH. We are the youngest institute, and we are about to celebrate our 10th year anniversary at the end of this year. What NCATS does is conducts and supports research on the science and operation of translation to allow more treatments to get to more patients quickly. Our focus is on what is common across the disease and the translational process. Translation is the process of turning observations in the laboratory, clinic, and community into interventions that improve the health of individuals and the public, from diagnostics and therapeutics to medical procedures and behavioral changes. Not everyone is really familiar with translational science compared to translational research, so we're trying our best to promote translational science, which is the field of investigation focused on understanding the scientific and operational principles underlying each step of the translational process. We call it a team science approach here at NCATS, and we are very proud of that. Some of our scientific initiatives at NCATS are under the Clinical Translational Science, the Clinical Translational Science Awards, CTSAs, the Rare Disease Clinical Research Networks, known as within our Rare Disease Program, as well as our NTU, our New Therapeutic Uses Program. So, under the Preclinical Translational Sciences, we have the NCATS Chemical Genomics Center, the Therapeutics for Rare and Neglected Diseases, also known as TRND, and the Bridging Interventional Development Gaps Program, also known as BRIDGES. We also have the Re-Engineering Translational Sciences Program that has the Toxicology in the 21st Century, also known as TOX21, and the Tissue Chip Program, as well as the Office of Rare Diseases Research. So the translational science and research area of interest at NCATS is aligned with our mission to transform the translational science process so new treatments and cures for diseases can be delivered to patients more efficiently. If you check out our links below on the topic of interest, you're going to find a lot of information, and it's going to be a lot to read through, but it's definitely very informative and could be a resource for you to use. Please note that our deadlines coming up are April 5th, September 5th, as well as January 5th. Please feel free to reach out to one of the program contacts for further information. They'll be able to provide you the latest updates available, as well as provide you more information than I can provide you at this moment. So for our funding overviews here, you can see that we have the omnibus solicitation, as well as the grant solicitation in targeted areas and our contract solicitations, and they all deferred. So the omnibus solicitation is an investigator-initiated grant funding. Our standard deadlines for that, as I mentioned, is April 5th, September 5th, and January 5th. The deadlines might vary depending if the April 5th or the 5th is on the weekend, so the deadline would be the Monday following. The grant solicitations in targeted areas are grants to advance a particular technology and research areas. So those due dates may vary when it comes to their deadlines. When it comes to the contract solicitation, these are contract opportunities to advance areas of high research interest at NCATS. These solicitations are usually published in the summer, and the applications are due in October or November. They're only released once a year. Out of these three funding announcements, the omnibus solicitation is one that is the main one used by small businesses, academics, and entrepreneurs when it comes to the SBIR STTR program. So we have now the SBIR and STTR, one of the largest sources of early stage financing. In 2019, the NIH budget for basic and applied biomedical sciences was $34 billion. Out of those $34 billion, $1.15 billion went towards the Small Business and Research Program. 3.2% was set aside for the SBIR program, and 0.45% was set aside for the STTR program. Now we have the benefits. So they are stable and predictable. These grants are not a loan. These grants do not have to be repaid. IP rights that are developed under these grants are 100% owned and retained by the small business. And if you receive an SBIR STTR award, you also are eligible to participate in the technical assistant programs as well as training opportunities that the NIH has made available for small businesses. The main benefit is that these projects undergo NIH's rigorous scientific peer review process, which
I'm sorry to stop you.
Yes.
We just can't see you. Your camera is off.
Oh, I'm sorry, my camera broke. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
No,
Thanks.
you're fine.
Sorry.
That's fine. So I was saying the main benefit for this is that projects undergo NIH's rigorous scientific peer review process, which awardees leverage to attract other fundings and collaborations. Now I'm going to talk about the three-phase program. So phase one, discovery, feasibility studies I just want to let you guys know that the budget cap recently went up. Now it is at $256,580 for SBIR and STTRs. Some topics that NCATS has identified of interest are listed under the waiver list, which allows applicants to go past the funding limits. As you can see, our cap is at 325. And our project period is between 6 months for an SBIR project and 1 year for an STTR. If you are wanting to participate in our waiver list, you must talk to one of our program director, and she must provide you the go-ahead to apply under the waiver. Please make sure to look at the guidelines in the solicitation as well, that you meet all necessary requirements. We also have the development, phase two full R&D. So you have 1.7 million for SBIR and STTR and over 2 years of a project period. Fast track combines phase one and phase two. And you have the option of going direct to phase two, allowing you to skip phase one if you have enough feasibility studies available. The phase 2B, completing renewal R&D, NCATS participates in the phase 2B program. Our caveat is that NCATS must have funded your phase 2 grant. Each institute has different rules about this, so it's always important to speak with the institute you plan to apply to. We don't have that many phase 2Bs, so it's definitely important to speak to us before you do. Then we have commercialization. Phase 3 is what we categorize as a commercialization phase. This is when the small business must look for strategic partners to further the development of your technology or product. Please note, NIH is generally not the customer of your development or your technology. You have to consider partnering and having an exit strategy. Who is eligible for funding? Please note that these requirements are set by the Small Business Administration, not the NIH. All federal agencies that participate in the SBIR STT program must follow these eligibility guidelines. Some criteria for SBIR: your business must be 500 or fewer employees. The PI must be employed with a small business at the time of the award. And the small business must be 50% US owned. Who is eligible for funding for STTR? STTR requires that a research institution must be under the grant. If you're using IP that belongs to the research institute and you need it in order to have the freedom to operate, a formal agreement is required demonstrating you have the ability to use the IP. This must be provided at the time of the award. An established cooperative research and development effort delineated as the minimum of 40% of the work must be done by the small business and 30% by the research institute. The employment of the PI is not necessarily does not have to be with a small business or research institute. It could be either or. Some SBIR, STTR critical differences. As mentioned, partnering requirement, the SBIR does not require partnering, but the STTR does. Work requirements. SBIR may outsource at least 33% during phase 1 and 50% during phase 2. For STTR, the small business must do at least the minimum of 40% and the research institute 30%. As mentioned earlier, the PI must be employed with the, under the SBIR, the PI must be employed with the small business, and under STTR, either the small business or research institute. The majority of the SBIR STT applicants come through the omnibus solicitation. The solicitation lists all research priorities of all 24 institutes at the NIH, as well as sister institutes such as the FDA and CDC. You're going to see the standard deadlines throughout this presentation because it's very important to know that these deadlines cannot be moved. And they have a close of business submission time. We encourage applications for topics within the respective center institute's mission, and we very kindly ask you to read the program descriptions and research topics. Before you apply, I very much recommend a couple months in advance to contact the institute you plan to apply to and provide them with a non-confidential executive summary of your technology and your proposed aims. That way you get feedback as to if the institute is interested in your technology and more relevant information that could benefit you while you apply. Commercializing understudied proteins from the Illuminating and Druggable Genome Project. The purpose is to elicit applications from small business concerns to initiate early research, ultimately leading to the commercialization of understudied proteins identified in the Illuminating the Druggable Gene Project. Please check out the funding announcements, PA 19034 and PA 19033 for further information. You'll find contact information to contact the program director if you have any questions. Here are targeted funding opportunities for 2021, such as the non-viral technologies for in vivo delivery of genome editors. As noted, clinical trials are not allowed. The next deadline is April 5th. Other funding opportunities, such as the administrative supplements to promote diversity in research and development in small businesses. This one's geared more to minority business, women-owned businesses. We also have the NIH HEAL initiative. America's startup and small businesses build technologies to stop the opioid crisis, as well as the Commercialization Readiness Pilot Program Technical Assistance. The CRP aims to facilitate the transition of previously funded SBIR, STTR Phase 2 and 2B projects to commercialization by providing additional support for technical assistance not typically supported. It includes preparation for documents for FDA submission, development of IP strategies, and or planning a clinical trial. Please note CTA applications are not accepted. We also have NCATS COVID funding opportunities. NCATS is supporting research activities spanning the translational science spectrum to address the SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. Here we are with the deadlines again, but I'm going to give you a little bit more background with this. As mentioned, our due dates are coming up as April 5th, September 5th, and then January 5th. NCATS does not do the scientific review. NCATS does not participate in the scientific review of the SBIR STTR applications. The NIH Center for Scientific Review, also known as CSR, handles the review process. They evaluate your application on a scientific and commercialization potential. The NIH uses a rigorous dual peer review system to ensure only the most meritorious scientific proposals are funded. Then we have our council review, which typically take place January, May, and August. The program director for NCATS of the Small Business Research Program would present all proposed funding applications to the council and the council would provide the go-ahead for funding. Award dates are usually 3 months or so after 2 to 3 months after, such as March, April, July, or September, December. How to develop a successful application. The CSR review criteria is as follows. What is the significance? Does the product address an important problem and have commercial potential? Is there a market pull for the proposed product? Approach. Are design and methods well developed and appropriate? Are problem areas are addressed? Are potential pitfalls and alternative approaches provided? Innovation. How novel is the technology, product, and the approaches proposed to test its feasibility? What is a competitive advantage? Please note under innovation that you must speak with the institute you plan to apply to before submitting your application to see if the IC is interested in your technology and our product. Investigator. Are the investigators, collaborators, or consultants appropriately trained and capable of completing all project tasks? Environment. Does the scientific environment contribute to the probability of success, facilities, and independence? When it comes to facilities, please note that the NIH can fund equipment needed for your studies. However, we do not fund the needs for an entire lab. And then commercialization. Is the company's business strategy one that has a high potential for success? All of these criteria need to be addressed in your application. Provide as much information as possible, please. In order to apply for an SBIR STTR grant, you're gonna have to start your registrations early. You're gonna need a DUNS number to be created, a System for Awards Management account, SAM, a grants.gov account, an EIR Commons account, and an SBA company registry. It takes time to get these registrations out the way, so we advise that you do this early on. Unfortunately, NCATS cannot help you in the registration process. We have no say when it comes to grants.gov, sam.gov. We can only point you to the help desk at each one of those systems. Now we have special designations. We encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship. What is socially and economically disadvantaged small business? The firm must be 50% or more owned and controlled by one or more disadvantaged persons or person. The disadvantaged person or persons must be socially disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged. The firm must be small according to the SBA side standards. Small businesses must self-certify by registering in the System of Award Management, also known as SAM. What is a woman-owned small business? A firm must be at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women and primarily managed by one or more women who must be US citizens. The firm must be small in its primary industry in accordance with SBA size. Here are 8 tips. Please review your funding opportunity announcement, also the omnibus solicitation, to the best of your abilities. You must make sure that the NCATS research topics of interest are eligible in line with your focus, with your technology. Here's a link for sample applications provided by by NIAID, our sister institute. They have a couple of applications that you can see from beginning to end. And these are applications that have been provided the green light by the applicants to be posted. Some information is definitely going to be cleared out, but these are successful applications. So this is a good tool to use when putting your application together. Do your homework. Look at the NIH reporter. See what other NIH funded applications are out there. Talk to an NIH program officer. Also talk to an NCATS program officer about your application. Lily Portilla, our NCATS SBIR program director, is here to help you. She can talk to you. She can provide you as much information as possible, as well as review your non-executive summary and aims and provide you feedback. As mentioned, please register early for the electronic submission process. It is important that you do, because if you do not, you will not be able to submit your application on time. We encourage applicants to use the NIH Assist. It's a streamlined application for the applying process. And when you apply, please specify the institute and study section for which you're applying. when we always come to this, you must submit early. Please submit early. We've had calls an hour before, 2 hours before the due date, the due time, and there's not much we can do to help you. And yeah. Here are some common application problems. No significance, unimportant problem, unconvincing case for commercial potential or social impact. Inadequate defined test of feasibility. Lack of innovation. Diffuse, superficial, or unfocused research plan. Questionable reasoning and experimental approach. Failure to consider potential pitfalls and alternatives. Lack of experience with essential methodologies. Unfamiliar with relevant published work. Unrealistically large amount of work proposed. CSR will be providing you with a written comment section regarding your application, and will provide you line item as to why your application is not being considered for funding. It is important that you read this through, talk to the Institute's program officer, and work on your application to make it better and stronger when you apply next. Here are some important facts to remember. Eligibility is determined at the time of the award. You do not have to have a PhD or an MD to apply. The PI is required to have expertise to oversee project scientifically and technically. Applications may be submitted to different agencies for similar work to support different aims and objectives. That means you can have multiple grants at different institutes. Awards may not be accepted from different agencies for duplicate projects. There are certain institutes that allow a clinical trial agreement, clinical trial projects. However, NCATS does not. Please make sure you look at the funding opportunity announcement. Communication after review. Rejection is painful, but CSR will provide you with a summary statement. Be open to reviewer critiques. Be constructive, not defensive in your response. Understand the review process and dynamics. Please look at this link. You have to understand the review process. There's nothing NCATS can do at that moment to provide any assistance. Consider reapplying, but spend a lot of time reading and revising your AIM page. And this is where you can also speak with your project officer or the NCATS SBIR STTR program director, and she can provide you with the best help possible. Some case studies to provide you with. Here's a success story. Axosym novel nerve on a chip technology. Axosym is a contract research organization dedicated to improving preclinical pharmaceutical development. Using advanced nerve on a chip, Axosym facilitates the prediction of neurological safety and efficacy early in the drug development pipeline. As you can see, a quote by the CEO and founder, Dr. Curley, with the data set we generated using the NCATS phase 1 grant from testing those 4 drugs, we were able to start discussing the platform with pharmaceutical companies. It showed the promise of this technology. Now we have Lyndra Therapeutics Novel Drug Delivery Technology. Here's a quote by Dr. Bellinger, former Lyndra CSO. The NCATS SBIR grant helped us at a very critical stage. It was an important funding source, especially around manufacturing ability. NCATS funded Lyndra's development of an oral ultra long-acting ivermectin for malaria elimination. Get your questions answered. Questions about the SBIR STTR funding application process or whether your project is a good fit, we are available to help. Please check out our FAQs. Contact us to set up appointments to discuss your idea. This is where you would provide us with your non-confidential executive summary and specific aims. And please view our current funding opportunities and spread the word. We also have additional small businesses resources at NCATS that are here to help. The Therapeutic Development Branch under the Division of Preclinical Innovation at NCATS can help small businesses in crossing the valley of death using in-kind resources with the following studies. You will need to speak to the TDB director, Don Lowe, to determine if your application is of interest at NCATS. Now we have the Bridging Interventional Development Gaps, also known as BRIDGES. The BRIDGES program is also under DPI and assists researchers in advancing therapeutic agents through late-stage preclinical development toward an IND application and clinical testing. Investigators do not receive grant funds under BRIDGES program. BRIDGES provides synthesis, formulation, pharmacokinetics, and toxicology expertise and resources to its collaborators. Eligible applicants must be academics, nonprofits, or SBIR eligible businesses. Here are some BRIDGES projects and their phases. As you can see, there's been advancements and we're close to market when it comes to merge and serve biotech. Therapeutics for rare and neglected diseases supports preclinical development of therapeutic candidates intended to treat rare and neglected disorders with the goal of enabling an IND application. The efforts provided by TRND program effectively de-risk therapeutic candidates and make them more attractive for adoption by outside business partners. Eligible applicants, academics, nonprofits, government lab, biotech, and pharma. Ex-US applicants are also accepted. But please, it's important to talk to the program contact or program director to determine if your application is of interest to NCATS. Here's some TRND projects and their current phases. As you can see, Mallinckrodt and Agilis have made it to market already. This is a success story for NCATS as well as for our partners. And as you can see, we have a bunch more that are about to be in phase 3 to market or moving from phase 2 to phase 3, phase 1 to phase 2. Here's a de-risking model to illustrate how the TRND and BRIDGES programs help small businesses cross the valley of death with minimum time and funding as well as maximum impact. We are here to help you advance your technology. Another additional resource is the newly established Technical and Business Assistant Program, also known as TABA. It went in place about 2 months ago. A key component of the TABA program is the assessment report. It provides a third-party unbiased assessment of progress in 10 technical and business areas that are critical to market success and suggests the highest priority steps companies can take to improve the commercial potential of a product or service. The goal is to help small businesses identify and address their most pressing product development needs. When it comes to deadlines, we are requesting and accepting applications on a rolling basis. Reviews take place monthly and with a notification of status of 60 days after submission. Only active phase 1 SBIR STTR grantees are eligible to apply. There's also a recorded webinar online that we can provide you with so you can get the latest information when it comes to TABA. Another new program recently established by the NIH is the Applicant Assistance Program, a free application preparation assistance program. We have a bunch of ICs that are part of it, of the program, and the IC and the applicants have a mentor-student relationship in which the mentor provides the applicant information about the NIH, the goal of the institute, and how they can work together to have the small business submit a great application. The AAP provides phase 1 SBIR STTR application preparation, support, and review. They also provide review and advice when it comes to the specific aims page and submissions, and they coach through the submission process. The AAP does not provide a grant writer. We do not provide research development plans, and we do not provide business registration or application submission services. Our current application period for January is closed. Here is the timeline for AAP. As you can see, applications were already submitted and due. And cohort 2 will be starting February and running all the way through April 6th. If you're looking to apply for the AAP program, start putting together an application in April. And if you are selected, make sure you have the time available between June and September 8th to meet with the program director or program officer who's going to be working with you and advising you in regards to your application, your aims page, and your summary statement. And these are ways you can connect with us. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Okay, I'm going to reply to Ava. You mentioned someone's name to contact for additional help. Yes, I can provide you the email address. It is SBIR. I want to type it in the chat box as well. So you can contact us at ncats-SBIR-STTR@mail.nih.gov. I've provided the email address in the chat as well. Shobha, regarding the Aspire program, if you email me at the email provided, I can provide you more information. I'm not really familiar if the Aspire program is part of SBIR, but I can do some digging. Hugo, regarding U.S. ownership of the company, can it be a combination of U.S. venture capital firm and U.S. founder with a combined ownership? That shouldn't be a problem. Richard, could you, you had a question regarding your technology. Please email the email I provided and provide us with a non-confidential executive summary, and we can provide you more information. If it's of interest to NCATS, we'll let you know, and we'll provide you the best information available to get your application noticed. Levance, that's a great question. And this is Lily Portilla, the director who's also involved in the N3C, as well as with the CTSA community, can provide you more information on that. I don't think we would have a problem of funding observational studies, but I can get back to you on that. But please email your question at the email address provided. Who gets the, Shobha, who gets the IP in the Bridges program? You would get the IP. Your company would get the IP. Jeanette, there is currently no equivalent program for there's no equivalent program for phase 2 SBIRs under the TABA program. That is something currently not available. But if you are a phase 2 awardee, I would speak with your program officer or the SBIR director at the Institute to see if they can provide you with some additional help. Benoy, please email me as well. We need to speak about your question. Can I write out a specific unmet need that I have researched and submit a proposal with a solution? We'd need to talk. We would need to see what your proposal is and what your solution is as well, and to see if you have partners, collaborators that are able to help you in your application, and as well through the technology process. Brian, if the small business hires a CRO for part of the work, fee for service, does that fall in the 67% for small businesses or the 33% of the sub-award contract? That should be under the sub-award subcontract piece. Kumaswari, please Google NCATS Bridges program, and then you'll be provided with a list of contacts that can help you. Fred, it sounds like NCATS SBIR focuses on preclinical stage. Does NCATS SBIR not support clinical stage work? At this moment in time, NCATS does not support clinical stage work. In the future, that might be different, but at this time, we do not. We do provide a lot of preclinical stage work, however. David, the founding company with university licensed tech. I'm not the PI nor the technical expert, business expert. Any tips of how to apply? David, this would be a great question for the AAP program, definitely, as well as looking at determining what your technology is, and if it's a fit for NCATS, we can let you know. We need to be provided more information about your technology Do you have current collaborators that you're working with? We need to talk a little bit more. So please email the NCATS-SBIR STT mailbox, and we'll be providing you most up-to-date information and answer all your questions. I think that's it for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Alvarez-Lopez, for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone. Thank you.